The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. You know what? Look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology.
But there was a woman screaming, shame, 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 shame. She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional, she wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker.
This domestic act of terrorism to use your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism.
No! No! Shame! Shame! You are criminals! You're criminals! What the fuck? What the fuck? What did you do? You! Shame!
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy.
Well, I haven't seen the vice president's statement, but he's generally very accurate. I hate to say, look, I watched that yesterday, and there were a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, shame, 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 shame. She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional, she wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker, because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this, the news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So, I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement.
You know, people need to stop using their vehicles as weapons. This domestic act of terrorism to use your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism, because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety.
These agents are not being deployed to promote safety. They do not have the proper training. They don't belong on the streets when they're not willing to abide by the law. And just as in Illinois, the Department of Homeland Security immediately launched a campaign of lies and propaganda in Minnesota to justify their actions. They didn't conduct an investigation, and they're not going to. They didn't express any remorse or sympathy for the mother that they killed. They ran straight to Fox News and they started lying. Kristi Noem and Donald Trump have told Americans to disbelieve clear, indisputable video evidence. They want you to question what your eyes and ears are telling you and instead blindly believe anything that they say. I encourage you all to go watch the video for yourselves. I've watched an analysis of it frame by frame. It is harrowing. It is unimaginable to think that this can happen in our country, or that when it does happen, the government immediately tries to cover it up. It should anger you. It angers me. It should compel you to peacefully stand up for justice. It's time for Kristi Noem to go.
A woman is dead, and the questions are growing louder. But instead of accountability, the White House has chosen defense. As President Trump stands firmly behind the agent, critics warn this is no longer about law enforcement, but about power being protected at any cost.